Jones from Sideline Shenanigans. I have Coach. Would you rather me call you Andrew, Drew, Coach?
I done whatever
Anyway,
you doesn't matter.
Coach Totheroh from Tri High School. Coach, welcome.
Hey, Bryan, thanks for having me on. I appreciate you reaching out, and this is a good chance to talk Titan football. So,
Absolutely. What got you into coaching?
like we talked about earlier, coaching was always kind of something I wanted to do. I can remember being like a senior in high school and getting into education and getting into coaching was just something I always wanted to do, and I never really saw myself doing anything else. It was always coaching or teaching PE and coaching ball, and so that's what I did. Went on to college and got my PE degree and grad school, and lo and behold, here I am. So a
Okay.
lot of a lot of a lot of good mentors in the game of football. A lot of good people that um, I was around, and it was just something I always kind of wanted to do. So
All right. All right. How do you coach leadership into your players?
biggest thing for us is being that example for them. I think that was the biggest thing that I kind of took away with my time as a player was the male role models that you got within the program. Me being the head guy, it's kind of like what the example I set, and then a lot of times kids will kind of mimic that, and so to speak. So that's one of the ways. And then the other thing is just talking about leadership. We meet a lot. I'm meeting with our seniors right now, our incoming or our will be seniors next year, about leadership and setting the right example for the young ones. We tell them all the time, like you're going to leave something behind with the current freshmen, and whether you want that to be a positive or a negative is ultimately up to
Mhm.
you. And a lot of we're fortunate with good kids here at Tri. I've always had good groups, and they do a great job of taking in the young ones and making sure it's almost kind of like a family almost. So
Mhm.
um, that's providing the example and then mimicking the or doing the example and let the kids follow, and um, that's how we do it over here at Tri.
How do you handle adversity within your team during the season?
Oh, great question. You're always going to be presented with some sort of adversity over the course of the season. I give the analogy, the season is a journey. You're going to run. It's going to have its highs and its lows, and it's always going to be, how do you handle it? And biggest part, we talk about a lot within the course of the season is, when we're in those tough moments, there's always something that you can pull from and learn from. You're going to learn from those tough times. You're going to learn a lot about yourself, and we're going to learn a lot about your team, your teammates, and your team. And it's always how you look at it, in my opinion. And we try to take that and learn from it, and then um, kind of go from there with it. But adversity is inevitable. You're going to run into it. Um, you know, every season, and when it hits, you never know, and you just gotta be ready for it, so to speak.
Absolutely. How do you manage egos and attitudes on a small team?
Oh, great question. I think it goes back to the example that you set. Um, Truthfully, here, that's maybe a little bit we deal with that, but it's not like um, maybe other places, bigger schools. I can't speak for bigger schools, but here, um, the example that you said, for example, I'll use me for example, and we've always built relationships with our kids here within our program, and fortunate enough being the PE teacher, I've had them since they were in sixth or seventh grade. So those
Mhm.
relationships have been built over time, and um, they kind of see and they know who I am, and they know what we stand for and what I stand for, and um, we've really never really ran into that. I know some other schools, other places that might be the case, but here we, um, kind of just lead by example, so to speak. And I've said lead by example a lot here, but
Mhm.
that's really what it is. And and if we do have a kid, maybe step out of line or whatever, it's we're going to have that one-on-one talk with them, and remind them of what we need from them, so to speak. So
How do you teach the importance of discipline?
great question. What we do on the offensive side of the ball is highly detailed, and it requires discipline, and it requires an attention to detail. Um, it's a great question, I think, because I tell the kids all the time, how you do one thing is how you do everything. Um, the many roles that we kind of carry as coaches, need to mimic that, so to speak. So the attention to detail is always harped, whether in a practice plan, we're in individual groups, and we're harping first step, second step with the offensive line, or taking a snap from under center and quarterback, maybe pulling out too early. We've got to stay in there and receive that snap. We're always, my staff and myself, we're always harping on the little things. Running feet through contact on the defensive side of the ball. We want to accelerate feet through contact, and it's just those code words that are built in. Every day at practice, that they hear every day at practice, I think kind of hammers in that discipline, and hammers in that attention to detail that we're after. So
What's your approach to when it comes to correcting mistakes in practice?
Oh, great question. Usually, if it's for in a team session, and we make a mistake, like a blocking issue or a blocking mistake or something like that, we're right there to get that issue fixed. My staff does a great job with that, and it's usually just pulling the kid aside, and I've got like my pen and my piece of paper, and we'll write up where the mistake occurred and how we've got to get it fixed. Um, we talk about, we're always recorded. We record everything. We record every team session and practice. And that's right up on Huddle there right after practice for the kids to watch. So, we're pretty big on, the attention to detail, especially, and correcting all those mistakes leading into a Friday night. So that way, when Friday night comes, we're playing as good a football as we can against our opponent, and um, all that stuff. But it's usually immediate feedback.
What what's the identity of Tri High School football right now?
We are. We pride ourselves on being a physical football team. Um, we always look to run the ball first, and it's a typical small school um, football, so to speak. And that's just the way our identity is and always will be, in my opinion. Um, my early years, especially here, you dabble in this and dabble in that, but one thing that's always rung true for us is our downhill run game and our downhill attack. It's just something that we've always had with every group, and it's something we pride ourselves on. Where I think across the state, our program's known for playing a physical style of football. Um, and that's something we hang our hats on. We're big into the weight room. I run our weight program over here. We pride ourselves in the weight room, and building that strength, and then transferring out onto the field, and
Mhm.
imposing our will on a Friday night. So that's our brand, and that's our style of play, and that's something that to me is try high football. We're going to be a physical team, and we're going to run the ball effectively, and um, attention to detail, like you said,
Mhm.
discipline, and all that stuff. So
What kind of offense do you guys run?
we're a wing T, mainly a wing T offense.
Yes!
You like the wing T?
Hell yeah!
It's the best, one of the best. I love it. And we do have some flex bone principles with the option game in there as well. But it's an awesome it's awesome. You know, the attention to detail behind it. You
Mhm.
know, all the little intricate pieces working together, and then you add in, you know, your key breaker plays. You add in, you know, your play action passes. You add it all together. It's awesome. And then mix tempo in there. It's awesome. It's a fun little offense. It's good for small schools, in my opinion, and it's perfect for us. Fits us, and it's a system approach, which I like. Um, so
Mhm. Yeah, I get really excited about the wing tee because anytime a coach says I run the wing tee, I celebrate because favorite offense to run. Oh man, I love it. I love it. I for my merch store, I'm probably gonna end up making I love the wing tee t-shirt.
it's the the combinations are endless, and it's you know, once you learn it, I think the biggest thing is there's, you know, a lot of misconception out there about, oh, it's this and that and whatever, but when you learn it and you dive into it, um, it's awesome. It's awesome. I can't say enough about it.
What does the word tough mean in the context of your team?
Oh, great. Yeah, it's awesome. Tough. I think, you know, we adapted a Warriors mindset going into this season. What we call our Warriors mindset. It's part of our core values within our program. And I think tough. You know, you're going to think physical toughness right off the bat. You're going to think, oh,
Mhm.
you know, this dude is you know, probably, you know, weight room strong and looks the part and everything. But to me, it's that the mental side of things. I think, you know, the ability to compete um, for 4 quarters, regardless of, you know, what the scoreboard says, um, and compete your butt off. You know, and the ability to, you know, push through adversity, like we had talked about earlier.
Mhm.
Adversity alone, I think, will, you know, can break a lot of people. But are you willing to push through the adversity and the tough times, to continue, you know, pressing forward and giving your best effort? You know, you know, a close ball game. Are you willing to stay mentally engaged in that ball game and continue to execute at a high level? You know, on top of all the, you know, the physical attributes of toughness. But to me, the mental side of things is more important than anything. You know, the physical side of things, because not football. You know, we've heard the saying. You know, since we were little, football is 90% medical or 90% mental, 10% physical. You know, it's a mental
Mhm.
game. So the mental side of things for me is crucial and important. And when we talk about toughness, that's what I think. You know, the mental stuff.
What does a try-high football practice typically look like?
We start off with our pre-practice, where we've got our linemen over at the shoots, getting their stretches in, their hurdle drills in. We've got our specialists, long snappers, kickers, punters getting kicks off, our returners catching those punts and kicks. Quarterbacks are getting their arms loose. So everybody is doing something to start a practice. Um, from there, we'll break and go into our what we call our dyno, and we'll go into our dynamic stretching, where we stretch together as a group.
Mhm.
We'll break out on our Titan jacks, and then depending on the day, if it's an offensive day, we'll go right into offensive individual. If it's a defensive day, we'll break off into defensive individual and go through our individual periods. Um, come back together, do a quick inside run period, offense and defense. Offensively, prepping for the other team's defensive front. If it's defense, we're prepping for the opponent's run game stuff, so to speak. Usually after that, we'll break off into some sort of special teams. So if it's kickoff and kick return for that day, or punt return for that day, we're repping that. Given giving the opponent's look there for what we can expect on Friday night. And then we're into a team session where we're prepping for, um, the opponent's defense and how we're going to attack it and such scenarios and situations like that. If it's a defensive day, we'll probably break after special teams. We'll go into a 7-on-7, and then we're into our team session with our one defense there, so to speak, and our scout offense or our JVs, giving the look for the opponent there. And then depending on the day, conditioning to end, and then wash, rinse, repeat the next day. So
Okay. What is the toughest matchup for Tri High School right now?
ooh. Um, probably the two of our bigger schools in the TEC conference, Centerville and Northeastern, are two of the bigger schools. They are two good programs. They're two well coached programs, um, and even Winchester, who's another one coached by Coach Jones. Winchester, Northeastern, Centerville. They've always been good games for us, and then tough games. They're bigger schools than we are, and
Mhm.
give us a good game. And it's always it's a clean game. It's a fun game. Um, and so those have been good games there, so to speak, for the past
Mhm.
9 years there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Monroe Central, I see that on your schedule. Isn't that the guy from TikTok that says, "Go Bears"? You ever see that? They're at
I
one of
don't, I
their
don't, I
athletic
don't, I don't
directors.
the athletic
Really?
trainer. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
yeah. We have them.
Go
They're
Bears!
they're our one non-conference opponent, and we signed with them, and let's see, 2023 was the first year we played them. It was the first year I ever played them, and those have been really good
Mm,
games. And we actually renewed for another 2 years. So those are Monroe Central is another one, absolutely. And there's been a lot of opponents that I've played here, and heck, we had Adam Central and Coach Mosier come down one time in 2020 and play us and beat us like a drum, and
mm,
that was awesome. So we're gonna so many games and opponents and quality opponents that you can't name off the top of your head, but um,
yeah.
absolutely.
Coach Mosier's been on the podcast.
Has he? He's a good dude, isn't he?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. This is like the 3rd episode.
Yeah, I love
Shout
Bo.
out Coach Mosier.
He
Shout out.
they came down. So it was COVID, and we lost a game, and they were open, and they came down here and gave us an old butt whooping, and that was awesome. I think we took so much. I took so much away from that game. Um,
Mhm.
he runs that program. Obviously, went into a state title, and they're good. They're every bit the part. Every bit the part. So.
What's your favorite road environment to coach in?
Ooh. We have a rivalry game with Knightstown, and that's a fun rivalry game. They're kind of split up in the middle of the season,
Mhm.
so for a little Bell Trophy, and we're located very close to one another, so it's an obvious rivalry between the two schools. It's an historic rivalry, and that goes back to like the early days, so to speak, of tri football, and that's been. We go over there. That's a fun environment to play in. It's a fun game in general because both teams are amped up and we want to beat one another, and a lot of our kids know their kids, and vice versa. And I look forward to that game every year. It's a good rivalry game, and it's fun to kind of have it there right in the middle of the season there to get the rivalry juices going there, so to speak. So
Yeah, I love rivalry games. When I think rivalry, I think Center Grove, Ben Davis. I know here's a small school one, Attica Steer. That when I was playing at Attica, it was intense.
absolutely,
Um, what's the most emotional win you've had at Try so far?
oh man. Um, 2021, we won our sectional championship at home, beat North Decatur, and that was emotional. That was awesome. That was an awesome victory. It was a 20-13 final that came down to the last minute. North Decatur scored with oh man, I want to say like 3 or 2:58 left on the clock in the fourth to go up 13-12. They kicked off to us, and we drove it down and scored. Got the 2-point conversion. Left like 48 seconds, 50 seconds on the clock, and then sealed it with a Gary Paul had an interception to seal it, and that was so many memories flood back to that game, and how important that meant to a lot of people in the community, and how important it was, and it was. Coaches are crying, and it was awesome. It was awesome. I've got pictures of it everywhere. It was just one of those games that's a core memory there in your coaching career, and when you accomplish something like that, it means a lot. It means a lot to a lot of people. It means a lot to the community and the school, and it was fun. That was a fun game. That was a fun game.
Where was your first coaching job at?
Straight out of college. So I graduated from Manchester College in 2012, and then went back to Crawfordsville High School where I coached linebackers. So I was straight out of college, went back to Crawfordsville, coached linebackers for a year, and worked in the school there for a bit, and then decided grad school is what I wanted to do, and went down to Indiana State, and was there for 2 years in the grad program for physical education and coaching.
Roll trees.
That's right. ISU.
I went to Indiana State.
Oh, really? That's awesome.
Yeah,
It's changed a lot. Campus has changed a lot. I don't know if you've been there recently, but
I was there the last time I was there was December.
okay, yeah. So you've seen it,
I
yeah.
just ha- I decided to switch to online because I was like, I'm
I
too
got
old to
you.
be living on campus and all that. I'm 21, so like it's weird.
I got you.
What made you fall in love with football?
Oh man. Um, that's funny you bring that up. I've been thinking about that this off season. Really, it's something I want to do with the team, our guys. I think for any young male, especially, you start playing the game because that relationship you have with your dad.
Mhm.
That's really every young man. That's why they start playing, and um, as you get older and you learn the game there, so to speak, and you go through the game, um, you fall in love with the game. If if your personality fits that, so to speak, and when you fall in love with the game, it kind of takes off from there. But um,
Mhm.
that's where my love for the game started, was wanting to play for my dad and wanting that bonding time with my dad there, so to speak. And my dad loved football, and football has kind of always been a big part of my life. And um, football's really led me to a lot of things in life, and in the pursuit of football. So um, that's where that love started, and just I kind of grew, and the longer I played,
Mhm.
and wanted to get into coaching because that love for the game's still there, and I wanted to give back. And um, so yeah, that's where it started for me.
Okay, that's also like a reason why I started this podcast. I miss football. I mean, I stepped away. I wasn't doing anything to do with it. I was like, darn. I love watching college football. I like watching high school football. I'm gonna start a podcast. And
Yeah,
Sideline Shenanigans was born.
I talk to people, like, the power of football is, like, there's so many layers to, what I mean. There's so many layers to
Mhm.
it, and it's just a powerful tool, and that's why, in my opinion, it's one of the most important sports a school can offer. All the life lessons taught on the field, just everything involved with it. It relates to life so well, and such a powerful game and a powerful tool. And it's a really, really good game for. It's just a good game. It's a great game.
What's one piece of advice you would give to your younger self?
Ooh. Um. Uh. You can't do everything. Well, you can't do everything. Well, like younger coach, is that what you mean, or like?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
or like your younger self.
You can't do it all, so and you can't dabble. So you got to pick. Like my younger coaching self, I would say you got to pick something and get really good at it, because you're not going to be able to master everything there, so to speak. And then be okay with being in a leadership position. I think it can kind of be um, a lonely road there sometimes, with outcomes not going the way that you want them to go, or et cetera, et cetera. So sticking to what it is you believe in, and sticking to the plan that you have in place, and believing in yourself. And never doubt that for a second. It would be two big pieces of advice I would give to my younger self.
Okay. What's your proudest moment in life outside of coaching?
Um, Getting married to my wife, that was, and then our two boys. We have two little boys. One's 4 and one's 1. Those little boys keep you busy, and are everywhere. My wife is awesome. She's always there for our kids, and helps give them whatever they need. And uh, so my wife and my children, no doubt about it. Um,
Mhm.
she's awesome. She's my rock, and my two boys, definitely keep me busy.
Okay, coach, we're gonna get into shenanigans here. All right. Who's the funniest player you've ever coached at Tri High School?
Ooh. Um, we had a we had a wing on the 2021 team, and he was always cracking jokes, and doing stupid stuff. He One of those personality types that you just love to be around. You know what I mean? Like, you just kind of gravitate towards one another.
Mhm.
And he had been like that ever since. Oh man, like 7th grade. I had him in PE. He's always been like that, and
He
we're
bring That's the type of guy that brings people together.
Absolutely. We're playing in the regional championship game at North Central, and that night we get back, and I'm watching tape, and we run belly left, and we score, and then for whatever reason, my eyes gravitate towards where that player is, and I'm watching him, and he stood the entire play, and then just stood there right in the stance, and then right when we scored, both hands go up in the air, signaling a touchdown. It was just one of those situations where you're watching it on tape, going, what are you doing? But you can't help but laugh at it. It's a funny memory that I've got.
All right, coach. Who on your coaching staff would win a 40-yard dash?
Oh man, probably Coach Cook. Um, he's our offensive coordinator. He does a great job. I would say he is the fastest on our staff, and or Coach Wilson, one of the two. Coach Wilson's young, so he might take him. One of those two is going to win 40. One of those two.
What's your guilty pleasure food during football season?
Oh, pizza, Pizza Hut, Pizza Hut pizza, no doubt. You get the supreme with the stuffed crust. That's where it's at.
What would your walk-up song be if you were to were oh, blah. What would your walk-up song be if you were to be introduced like a pro wrestler?
Oh, the NWO Wolfpack theme song. We call our defense the Wolfpack defense. They swarm, and I play that song on practice at practice. So every kid in our program knows that song,
Mhm.
and that would be my walk up song. We've had some kids during baseball season have that as their walk up song,
Okay,
and
I
buy
like
the old
it.
buy the old NWO t-shirts with the red and black.
Mhm.
I'm just as guilty. I've got one too. So um, that's a big staple within our program is our kids know what the NWO is and what that stands for and the theme song. So that'd be my walk up song, no doubt.
If you could have one NFL coach on your staff, who would it be?
Oh man, I'd say Gruden. I that dude knows football. I don't know.
He
I don't know
does.
that I watch since he's with Barstool Sports
Uh-huh.
now. You know, all the stuff he talks about with football and his that little camp deal he's got, building deal.
Mhm.
Um, he'd be. I just want to talk football with him and pick his brain. So maybe he's a little controversial in the past. I don't know,
Mhm.
but he seems like a football guy and one you just want to talk ball with. So
Did you know his dad coached at IU?
I did, yeah, yeah. I remember seeing that on game day.
Mhm. All right. Speaking of college game day, how did you feel about Lee Corso retiring?
Sad day in college football history.
I know, but at least they got Pat McAfee to replace him.
Yeah, yeah. I grew up with watching Corso and the headgear picks, and he's been a staple. It's tough to imagine game day without him. I think,
Mhm.
um, but I remember watching like that was always a big thing. Is Saturday mornings in college if you weren't playing, but you'd watch game day and watch the picks, and
Mhm.
he'd bust out the headsets or the headgear, and that was a big staple in my childhood growing up. So it's a sad day to not have Coach Corso.
I love me some Coach Corso, Pat McAfee, Kirk Herbstreit too. one of my favorite commentators of all time.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, Coach. I want to thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Hey, I appreciate you having me. Been fun talk Titan football and
Oh yeah, for sure, for
somebody
sure.
be somebody from Attica. That's cool.
Yeah, yeah. Small town guy. Small town guy.
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
My name is Bryan Jones. He's Andrew Totheroh. Thank you for listening.
Bryan, thank you. I appreciate
Football is more than just a game. It's a passion. Some would say it's a way of life. And now you can wear that passion with pride. Introducing the Sideline Shenanigans merch store, a collection of premium tees, hoodies, and hats made for fans who live and breathe football. From game day to every day, our gear keeps you comfortable and looking sharp. Every piece is designed to match the energy you bring to the game, bold, effortless, and built for those who know what it means to be a true fan. Visit Sideline Shenanigans pod.printify.me today and grab your gear. It's time to wear your love for the game. Sideline Shenanigans merch, because the game never stops and neither should your passion.